All right, let's be real. Have you ever caught yourself thinking, oh my God, am I being too much right now? Am I oversharing? Am I being too emotional? Too me? Because same, guys and gals. And today we are diving headfirst into that spiraling abyss of self doubt and asking, are we actually too much? Or are we just surrounded by the wrong people? Spoiler alert, it's probably the latter. And these are some of the topics that we're going to explore in episode 4 of I'd Like to Unsubscribe. We'll talk about why we feel this way and how to stop shrinking ourselves to make people around us comfortable, and how to embrace our full, fabulous, complex selves without the guilt. Because, newsflash, you are not too much. You are exactly enough. So grab your heating pad, your tea, or whatever emotional support beverage you require, because we're unpacking the guilt, the overthinking, and most importantly, how to stop apologizing for existing. We'll jump right in after a quick word from our sponsors.
Are you experiencing symptoms of lupus or feeling alone on this journey? The Lupus Foundation of New England is here to help you. They're dedicated to supporting those living with lupus, offering education, resources, and a community to help you navigate the journey. From learning about symptoms and testing to upcoming events and research, the Lupus Foundation of New England has you covered. Visit lupusne.org and connect with others who truly understand. You don't have to do this alone. Visit lupusne.org. That's lupusne.org today. What if the life you planned vanished overnight? For Marissa and Britt, it was painful chronic conditions without cures. We lost everything: our health, independence, careers, and even our sense of self. But in the wreckage, we found something unexpected: a chance to rebuild. Welcome to I'd Like to Unsubscribe, the podcast for anyone feeling stuck, lost, traumatized, or just straight up over it. This isn't about surviving illness or trauma. It's about ditching the toxic beliefs holding you back and even daring to dream again. We're bringing real talk, hard-earned wisdom, lots of sarcasm, and practical tools to help you rise. You'll laugh, you'll cry, and you'll remember, even in the darkest moments, hope is still alive.
Hey friends, welcome back to I'd Like to Unsubscribe. We are your hosts, Marissa and Britt. And Marissa, is there anything you'd like to unsubscribe from this week?
Oh, I had a funny feeling you were going to bring this up. This week, I'm so glad that I'm still with you all. I'd like to unsubscribe from being super distracted and from trains, because I was for work out near Charleston the other day, and I literally almost got hit by a train in my car. The train missed me by about 10 feet. It was a very convoluted, I was super distracted. I was lost in a really strange area outside of Charleston, and it was dark. And you know, when you're like in a very unfamiliar area and you can't get your bearings or like your direction? And I didn't want to grab for my phone because that was going to distract me even more if I tried to map it. And I made this really weird turn, and there were no, I think because I was sort of in the middle of nowhere, there were no arms that came down. And all of a sudden, this train was right next to me, and he honked the horn so loud that I almost died and scared me half to death. And I probably scared him half to death. So if he's listening, I just want to apologize. And I'm really glad that we did not hit one another. So,
Ah,
yeah. So there was that. And yeah, so I think distractions. What about you? What would you like to unsubscribe from?
Oh, I mean, if I could unsubscribe from just one thing, that would be freaking allergies. Because I would
Oh,
actually subscribe to breathing. Because I find myself on walks and I'm using my leg muscles to breathe. I'm trying to use every muscle in my body to get my lungs to take in air while I'm kind of simultaneously panicking, which is super fun. Like it's a nice little combo of like, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. And my kids are like, Mom, are you cool? I'm like, I'm fine. So
yep.
yeah, I'd like to unsubscribe from Florida right now. From Florida.
I think like allergies, especially now as we go into spring, like I feel like this is going to be a bad spring because I feel like everybody's allergies are going nuts.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think it's just probably a bad year already, So let's just see. 2025 can only go up. Well, in this episode, we are going to hit unsubscribe on the nonsense that drags us down, the expectations, the guilt, and the idea that we have to have it all together. Because let's be honest, we don't. And I'm sorry, we actually won't. So if you've ever felt like you were overwhelming others when you shared your struggles, your emotions, or your needs, this episode is for you and more. I want to keep you in this question in your mind as we move forward, right? Keep this question in the front. What if the issue isn't you being too much, but others not having the capacity to meet you where you are? So let's unpack the fear of being too much. Let's flip that script because maybe we're actually just the perfect amount for the right people.
Girl, I'm so excited about this topic. I don't know, just episode 4, I've been so excited to get to this place. I know, honestly, it's not just something you and I have struggled with because we've talked about this, but I know so many people that question themselves on this, right? And it like keeps them up at night and they worry about when they walk away from someone or a situation, what, they're going to think of them or whatnot, right? I think it's human nature. But for those of us who land in the chronic illness community or have experienced a trauma, it can feel like this never ending tightrope of, am I safe to openly talk about this? How much detail of what's going on do I give? Should I just shut up and act like everything is fine, which we do a lot, like you just shared? Will this person still like me? Will they want to date me? Will my friends still want to be around me if I tell them the truth, right?
Yeah.
So it's this delicate balancing act of dealing with everything that comes with just everyday life, which is hard enough, and then feeling like, are we chronically too much if we openly talk about the hard things? I think for some of us, the fear that we're taking up too much space in the lives of the people we love can be part of the problem. And so we shrink ourselves down or only allow a small piece of ourselves to show up. Because if we show it all, we think, what happens then? Are they judging me? Are they still going to stay in my life after this? And I feel like we can psych ourselves really out on that entire just whole thought pattern.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's that word fear, right? That just jumped out to me because I feel like a lot of this behavior is rooted deeply in fear, especially for women. So I'm talking to my girls right now. Sorry, boys, but right, like we feel this more deeply. We are taught to be agreeable, right? Easy to deal with. We need to be small, right? We're trying to minimize ourselves. That's what makes us good, is so they say. And if you have a chronic illness and or you're working through trauma, like yikes to all that. This is such a catastrophe hitting itself. We are somewhat programmed in our society that if we express our needs or emotions, it's going to be construed as too much for some people, right? And so we do shrink. That's going to be our reaction. It's a protection mechanism. But here's the thing. We want to show up in the relationships around us, right? We want to show up genuinely. And if we can't be ourselves and are self-censoring in order just to be likable, to be agreeable, to be accepted, then what really is the foundation that that relationship is resting on anyway? Because that's not real. It's not real. So we need to realize not everyone will have the emotional bandwidth for deep conversations. We see that all over the place. There's some people who just can't get deep because of their own woundings. But that's a them trait. That's a them character trait, not a you trait. So the bottom line is that the right people in our life should not make us feel like we need to be small, but they will celebrate the fullness of who we were designed to be with us. That's when we know we have it right. So listen, dealing with autoimmune disease or trauma or just hard things that happen in life, and, it's not just about the fun stuff, like the unpredictable symptoms or the medical bills that require a second mortgage, to come out, or the doctors who say, that's really interesting. It's not just those fun things we get to deal with. No. It's about the emotional roller coaster of constantly wondering, am I talking about this too much? Is that just a me thing, right? Talking about this too much? Do my friends and family secretly wish I would just shut up about this already? Or this one's my favorite. Am I the human equivalent of a subscription service that nobody actually asked for?
Ooh, that one's really tough. Okay, well, hopefully none of us feel like that because that's horrible. But I mean, let's be real. A lot of the suck of an autoimmune is not just the symptoms. I mean, those definitely suck, but also that emotional toll, right? I feel like a lot of us self-edit, we pull back, and we also overanalyze every conversation. Um, because we don't want to be too much, right? It's definitely a thing. We've either heard it or we've felt that judgment or we've heard the whispers or maybe someone's just flat out said something to us. But living with an autoimmune disease is basically a full-time job in itself, except with this full-time job, there's no paycheck, there's no paid time off, and your boss, aka your body, changes the rules on you pretty much every day, right? One day you're fine, and the next, boom, your joints have staged the coup. Your energy level is like, well, at least for me, like less than a sloth who's having a good day. And suddenly, like I'm asking myself, why did it just take me 30 minutes to get dressed and like get my pants on? And all I want to do is like, where's my pillow? Like, can I just go back to bed at this point? It's hard.
Yes, exactly, exactly. But here's where it gets even more tricky, right? We don't just live with this stuff. We also have to navigate how much we talk about it. And the fear is real. I'm not going to deny that. I'm not going to say, no, 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 that's not, it's real. You casually mentioned your joint pain, or you decide to talk about your blood results at brunch. And suddenly everybody is clutching their mimosas awkwardly, just like, okay, I don't know what to do with this. Chronic illness and trauma come with really heavy realities. That is just the nature of the game. But that doesn't mean we should shrink ourselves or pretend we're fine 24/7. That's not healthy at all. We've all been there. Someone asks, maybe genuinely, how are you? And then you debate between lying, AKA, I'm fine, or telling the truth, right? So this time you decide to be brave and you're like, I'm going to opt to tell the truth. So you spill it. And then as soon as you stop, your brain starts the spiral. Oh my gosh. Did I mention my fatigue one too many times? Oh my goodness. Did my friend just do a slow blink of exhaustion when I said specialist appointment again? Am I secretly starring in a reality show called Chronically Ill and Annoying? And nobody told me? These are the things running through our heads, the overanalyzing, the overthinking the conversation. Now, here's the thing. There is a difference between dumping and just sharing, right? We've all experienced that when someone has just dumped everything on us and we're left feeling like, oh my gosh, I can't handle this. But then there's sharing. That's a line we need to discover in our lives. And that's going to be really important. But let's be real. Sometimes just existing with chronic illness feels like too much for some people, right? The fact that we even have it, they're just too overwhelmed by it. So the solution we find, not well, but we get to it, is that many of us just shut up about it.
Hmm.
So we smile, we pretend we're fine, and we act like we're totally chill. Just not an issue. It's totally fine. And meanwhile, internally, you're craving support and so much comfort.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason why there's 1,000 memes of like, I'm fine. This is fine. Because this is what a lot of us have come to, or we've done this. And I think sometimes we shut up because we actually have been burned before by the people around us. And so I want to share a story. I'm going to actually share two. Okay, pretend I'm Sophia and it's the Golden Girls because it's my favorite show next to Frasier. And just picture it a few years ago after I was diagnosed and I was so sick that I could barely shower myself without the help of a nurse. I had some family members that did not get it. They did not understand lupus. They didn't want to hear about it. They didn't even want to try to understand it. They were flat out nasty. If I mentioned lupus or doctors or that I was having a hard day or if I was just really slow in my movements and things that I was doing, it actually brought out some really horrible conversations that made me completely shut down. Like I just didn't want to talk to them at all. We couldn't. We were not communicating at all. And it wasn't until years later when I got extremely ill, I wound up getting something called lupus vasculitis, put me in the hospital, almost died. I actually have a brain aneurysm today from this.
Mhm.
And I was put on this older version of like a chemo med that basically shuts off your immune system really quick. They don't use it like in the cancer world anymore because they have such better medications now, but it's often used for lupus. And it's like when I explained it in that way, all of a sudden these people, their ears like perked up and they were like, "Oh, it's like chemo. That's really bad. You must be really sick." Like, I'm like, "Really?" Like, "Oh, now I'm sick. Okay, cool." Because it's so weird. Like, I've been so sick for so many years. Like, I don't, you live here, but the nurse comes here, but like you didn't want to acknowledge it. But even the fact that for like a moment they had this realization and maybe they showed like a little bit of curiosity or empathy, I had kind of already dog-eared them as unsafe, and we're going to talk more about that later. But basically, my reality of hard and being sick didn't equate to theirs, so they just didn't want to hear it.
Yeah.
So I think when you're met with something like that, you do shut down. And we do that to protect ourselves. I mean, that's a natural reaction, right? Because we're going to, go into more detail later about just people that are basically unsafe. Um, but I also want to share a story about a friend of mine, Kara, an old friend who, by the way, talked to Kara. She's totally cool with me sharing this story, so I'm not divulging someone's personal life here. Um, Kara is an incredible human being. She's one of those people who will always show up for you. Okay. It's like the friend that you always need and want in your life. She checks in. She notices like right away when something's off with you. She sticks around when life gets messy. And she always carried other people's burdens. And she was always that person to say, like, "Hey, you don't have to go through this alone. Like, I care about you." She's empathetic and just a good human. And then life got really hard for her a few years ago. And I mean, hard. Like, there was a lot of family traumas going on, a lot of health issues, and that emotional exhaustion that just every day you feel like you're climbing uphill and you can't get a break. Like, it was a long season. And in that moment, like she needed the kind of support that she had always given so freely. And that's where the story gets really painful because all of the people that she had been there for so long, that she took their calls at 2 a.m. and would listen to them. And she would drive across town and there was an emergency, and someone that needed help. Like all of those people, like they were gone. They disappeared. Um, and it's not because they were bad people and not because they didn't care. Sometimes, like when this happens, it's because they don't even know how to help, right? Maybe they're overwhelmed with their own struggles. I think a lot of people are unsure of what to say. Um, some people don't want to be dragged down. Um, some people are afraid of doing the wrong thing. Like there's just a lot of different reasons, and so these people just drifted away without even explaining or having a conversation. I think that's really, really hurtful. Um, maybe, and like I don't know the exact reason, but I'm putting, parameters out there of what this could have been. Maybe they thought Kara needed more than they could give them. Maybe they think she has plenty of other people to lean on, right? You know, I think social media kind of plays into that. If someone puts a distress call out, and that's something that's a little odd that normally they wouldn't post, and, people are like, "Oh, I'm here for you. What can I do?" And they're like, you might think to yourself, "Oh, well, she's obviously got plenty of people. They don't need me." Right. But
Yeah.
that's not always the case. Um, for whatever the reason, she was just left carrying the bag. And that's the thing, right? None of us are getting a free pass in life. We're all dealing with something, and sometimes it feels impossible to take on someone else's weight if you're barely holding up your own.
Yeah.
Um, I'm very big on communication. Like, have a conversation with me. Like, just don't leave me in the dark wondering, right?
Yeah.
But you don't have to be perfect to be a good friend or to be just a good human. And you don't have to have all the answers. Like you don't have to fix everything either. I think that's, a big thing with men and women when there's like chronic illness or trauma. Like men are fixers, right? And women sometimes, I just want you to hear me. I just want to be able to talk. Um, Sometimes all you need is just someone to come next to you and give you a little bit of strength to borrow. Send a text. Just check in. Like, I don't know what to say to you right now, and I'm not really sure if I could fix this, but I'm here for you. And I'm here when you're ready to talk, or if you just want to vent, or, like, or give me something tangible I can do to actually help you. And when we do that, like when we give that little like that little bit that we have, because we may not, have a lot, like that's what builds like true friendships, right? And that's when you can start turning on one another when someone's in a pit. And then you'll have a friend that will remember that, and she or he will be there for you too. It's just giving a little bit of your strength. Like you don't have to drop your entire life. Like we all have busy, crazy lives. But I think especially in the chronic illness world or healing from some type of trauma, like just put yourself out there a little bit instead of like disappearing on us. Like, hey, is there something I could do? Do you want to, let me know when you want to chat. Like, I'd love to just sit and like hear you out. It's really not that hard.
No, no. I mean, and that is so life, isn't it? Like you will have your moment in the pit. So you need to remember that the way you're treating someone else in their pit is the way you're going to be treated when you're finally down there, right? You're going to get back what you've given. Like, so no one expects you to be a superhero, though. It's not about saving somebody. And I think as women, especially me, I'm a helper and I want to save. I want to have the right words. I want to do the right things. And if I can't, I feel like, well, I can't do anything at all, right? But no one expects that from you. No one's expecting you to be a superhero. We're not built to carry the world on our shoulders. We are built for community. We are built to hold each other up when life knocks us down. So now, Marissa and I know not everyone listening shares our same faith. And I just want to share some really special verses, though, that speak exactly to what we're talking about today. So Galatians 6:2 says, carry each other's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ. But you know what's interesting about this verse is just a couple verses later in Galatians 6:5, it says, for each one should carry their own burdens. So, well, what exactly is it, right? Do we know? Do we do it? Do we not? Are we supposed to carry each other's burdens, or do we carry our own load? So this is the breakdown on it, right? Here's the difference. A load is your everyday struggle. Okay? Your casual things, everyday struggles. A burden is something too heavy to carry alone. You see the difference? Load, everyday struggle, burden, too heavy to carry alone. So that means your friend's drama about which pillows to buy for her couch, that's her load. Her drama at work, that's her load. Your friend's grief, her chronic illness, her divorce, or her trauma, see, that's a burden. One that she is not meant to carry by herself. Do you see the difference there? So here's where we get it wrong, though. We think we have to carry someone's entire burden or nothing at all. And that's the issue, that if we can't fix everything, we might as well just stay quiet and do nothing. And that's the worst option of all of them, because that's not how this works. So maybe you can't take away someone's pain. I cannot cure you of your autoimmune. I can't cure myself of my autoimmune. I can't cure that. And I want to, but I can sit with you in it, right? You can sit with somebody. Maybe you can't solve their problem, but you can make them laugh for a minute, right? Which is what we hope we're doing for you guys. Maybe you don't have all the words, but you can send a I'm thinking of you text, or I don't know what to say, but I love you. That text reminds somebody that they're not doing this all by themselves. You don't have to be everything to be something. And listen, I want you to hear this, because this has really hit me over the years, because I see Jesus as this formidable character. He was perfect and he had no issues, it seems, no flaws, right? But listen, even Jesus had moments where people thought he was way too much. He was too radical, he was too bold, he's too disruptive, and yet he continued on, because his purpose wasn't to shrink himself for the comfort of others, right? He was bold and in their face. Isaiah 41:10 reminds us, so do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. The translation of that verse, you are not carrying this alone. And you don't need to shrink yourself to be worthy of love and support. Brene Brown which we love, says it best. Courage starts with showing up and letting ourselves just be seen.
Yes. I love that you were talking about shrinking yourself, right? And we don't need to do that. That's the whole goal of this episode. We don't need to do that. And if I think about this just for myself, of course, like I want to be liked. I'm also not going to pretend to be someone else.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like this kind of back and forth, and it's more now as I've gotten older, I'm not going to pretend to be someone else. I don't want to constantly worry about filtering myself for fear or being labeled like too sensitive or too emotional. I think just with maturity and age, like I am more interested in being authentic and discovering like who is the person that God designed me to be. Because when we're in that, like that is when I feel like the magic happens in life. And that's where I feel like the focus needs to be shifted to. Who was I designed to be? Me? Like I'm a very sensitive person, and like so are you, Britt, and we exhibit that very differently. Uh, but and although for both of us, I do believe it comes in a form of empathy. I know, like, I can feel the energy of a room or a person immediately, like within seconds. And I know immediately when I click with someone or when I don't. And when I say something that made someone shut down, maybe it was too raw, too heavy, like I feel that shift. But I want to flip the narrative right there on that thinking. If someone makes you feel like you're too much or you're too emotional or you're too sensitive after you've expressed yourself authentically, like look at that as a compatibility issue, not a personal failing.
Good. That's good.
Okay. And that is not our like default, like when we were talking, in the last episode about like these pathways that we have in our brain, like we go right to it's a personal failing, it's something wrong with me.
Yeah.
Try looking at that as a compatibility issue. And not everyone is compatible. I mean, we learn that early on when we start dating, right? It's just not a thing. Um, but I think with age and maturity and like doing the work, I've realized that worrying so much about what another person thinks of me actually takes up so much. It used to take up so much space in my life, space that like I could have actually been doing something with that time that I was just freaking out or so concerned and ruminating. Like my brain would go on these loops. I'm definitely a loop person. But like I could have played my piano, I could have been cooking, I could have been talking with a good friend, I could have been singing or traveling or doing something that I really liked. And I had a lot of work to do to get to this place because let me tell you, when I was younger, I was so worried that I was too much that it would like physically make me sick and I wouldn't sleep, right? Um, I was also bullied a lot when I was really young. So I think that's where that kind of stems from. But here's where it gets even more real. The belief that you're too much or not enough isn't just emotional. Like it actually physically impacts our body. And so if we look at some research that was published in Psychological Science, it talks about self-silencing. Self-silencing is basically keeping everything bottled up because you want to avoid being a burden on people. Well, when we self silence, science has shown that it raises our inflammation levels and it increases our cortisol production and it weakens our immune system. So, I know for those of us in the chronic illness community, we definitely don't need more inflammation. I think every single one of my female friends, as we've hit, our age of like 40s or whatnot, they're like, I feel like I have adrenal fatigue. I feel like I'm, exercising and I can't lose weight and all these other things. Our cortisol is like up and down and like crazy. And with every eight, new viruses that we hear that come out like every single day, what's the last thing we want? Like, we don't need to weaken our immune system any more than like life just kind of naturally does it, right? So if you've ever wondered, am I literally making myself sick by trying to be easy to love or to like? Well, yeah, if you're a science-minded person, the science actually says absolutely. It does make you physically sick. And so if you love science and you want to dig in a little bit more, there's another study from the American Psychological Association, and it found that if you self-silence chronically, it actually leads to more risk of autoimmune flare-ups. Nobody wants that. Heart disease and even cognitive decline. And why is that? because when we constantly suppress emotions, it keeps the body in this low grade fight or flight state, which is basically like having your stress hormones on this infinite caffeine drip. So I'm going to pull one out of Britt's book, and I'm going to go back to a verse that I really love and just helps me when I think about all of this. It's Psalm 139:14. And in this, we are reminded, I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. See, you and I were created on purpose and with a purpose, and you are enough. You are enough when you're exhausted or sick or sensitive or emotional or happy or empathetic or sad. You are enough through all of it.
Yes. Oh, girl, let's just end the episode there because that's it. You are enough.
Okay,
through-
bye.
Okay, see you later, guys. Bye. But like, I want to call it out because we're going to keep it real. We're going to be honest with you. Sometimes you are too much. Oh, like sometimes I am so extra. I am too much. And I know it myself. I'm like, I am being so extra right now, right? Sometimes you're going to be too much. Okay. It's easy to worry when you're in those moments because we have needs and we're human, that we're burdening our friends and our family, especially when our symptoms are so unpredictable, y'all, right? Like Marissa said earlier, sometimes we wake up and we're great. And then the next day it's like the night of the living dead. Like, what is going on? You know, our symptoms are unpredictable and they're exhausting, or you're really working through a traumatic season or event in your life, right? And you're going to be too much. But here's the truth in that. Leaning on others isn't just okay, it's necessary. Ooh, I feel like I just said a 4-letter word. Like, we need to like censor this part in. But
Explicit.
yes, leaning on others isn't just okay, it's necessary to our lives. You weren't meant to carry this alone. Remember, burden versus load? You weren't meant to carry this alone. This autoimmune is a burden, but like in the sense of someone carrying it for you. The people who love you, emphasis on love, right? They want to help. They really do. I know that can be really hard to believe, but they can't if you don't let them. Okay? This is all sorts of pride stuff here. This is all sorts of self-worth things, but they want to help. You have to let them. And yes, and often they're going to probably get it wrong. Right? And we got to have grace for those moments. We have to have so much empathy for the people who are loving us because we're not getting it right. Our doctors certainly aren't getting it right. We can't expect the people who love us to be just getting it right. Sometimes they're going to get it wrong because they are human, but that's part of the messy, beautiful process of building real connections. That's the groundwork of a real relationship. So research actually backs this up for us, because having support can literally make you healthier, like genuinely healthier. Studies show that people with chronic illnesses like autoimmune diseases who receive emotional and practical support from their loved ones, they experience less disease activity and greater overall well-being. I think we all want a little dose of that, right? But if that comes from us having to lay down our pride and ask for help, that's how we're going to get healthy. We have to ask for help. It's not just good for your soul. Apparently, it's also pretty dang good for your body too. And here's the kicker. By allowing yourself to lean on others, you're also giving them a gift. You truly are. You're giving them a chance to show up for you, to deepen your relationship, and to love you in ways that actually matter. Like, that's truth right there. And I'm going to be honest with you, I never actually believed this. Like, I would all day long tell my friend, you need to let other people help you. You're worthy of it, right? I would preach this to the choir, but like, I would not take my own medicine. I didn't believe that asking for help and receiving it was a blessing to the person. I just didn't. That was a strong no on my book. My counselor was the one who really shed the most light for me here, because I refused to tell my kids that I was sick. Oh, dang it. I'm the crier and here it comes. I feel it.
Mm-mm.
All right, guys, work with me. Sorry on this one, but I didn't want my kids to know I was sick because I never wanted to be a sick mom. So I refused to tell my kids that I was sick. I was their mom. I was supposed to be strong and they needed me, and it wasn't the other way around. So I would not burden them. But my counselor was so wise in saying, but Brittany, how else but from your own home will your kids learn empathy?
Mm.
How are they going to learn how to care for others or to show compassion or grace? They must learn this from you. And how better than from your own need and your own story?
Mm.
And y'all, I didn't want my kids to learn from my weakness though. Like that's not what moms are supposed to do, right? We're supposed to be strong. I didn't want them to learn from my place of need. I wanted them to learn from my strength, right? But that's just my own dang pride. Because being a parent is not about raising good kids. It's about raising good adults. And a good adult is one that has empathy
Mm.
and knows how to care and how to show compassion. So I invite you, bring your kids into, they need to see love in action. Oh, and honestly, y'all, at the end of the day, everyone is dealing with something. You don't know what someone else is battling through. You don't know what they're carrying. Even if it looks different from what you are facing, everybody is facing something. And needing support doesn't make you weak. It's just making you be a human. I mean, we're not Marvel here, right? We are humans. The people who truly care about you won't see you as too much all the time. You're going to have your moments, but that's not going to be your tombstone, Brittany, too much, you know? It's just, it's not how it is because they know also life isn't easy or fair. They're going through their own stuff. They understand it. It's a lot easier when we walk through it together, isn't it? When we do it together. So take up space. Now take up space, ask for help. Let people love you in the ways that they can because you're not a burden. You're carrying burdens, but you yourself are not a burden. You're a person and you're worth showing up for. And another moment here, but hear this. Even though it's probably the hardest thing to hear, and I'm glad that I get to be the one. Dang it, Marissa, I have to be the one doing all the hard things today. Come on, man.
Sorry. Sorry. You did make me tear up though, which
Okay. I want you to go on this journey with me because it is okay if it is hard for those that love you, that you are sick. It's okay that it's hard for them too.
Mm.
They're going to have their own grieving process that they must go through. And that's challenging to be the person to know that you are kind of causing it. But you need to give them their space to not get it right. They're going to grieve and they're not always going to get it right. They also need to learn how to ask for help. And they may need to go to counseling. They especially need a place for grace and honesty too, because y'all, let's be honest, this was not the life they hoped for or planned on either. And if you give them that space to be honest about that, then I do promise you, you will be closer for it. I know that can sound really counterintuitive, but leaving your people to just have to suck it up around you is not healthy at all. No, you can't be their punching bag. That's not an option. My husband and I have this thing that we say, it's called the 1 in 8 billion talk. And he'll say something about how he's feeling, about what I'm going through. And I'll be like, right now, babe, I'm so sorry. I just can't hear this because I am not healthy enough to process what you are going through right now, whether it's his grief or his anger. And I'll be like, there are 8 billion people in the world. Go talk to one of them. But right now, it can't be me. And I know that can sound like, oh, girl, harsh, but there are moments where I can't be that person. I can't be that person to hear. I don't have enough bandwidth within myself. But when I do finally get that margin in place, it is super important for me then to go back, right? We got to circle back and we got to make space. So I then make space for his feelings. And I say, okay, tell me, how does it feel? Because I would be stupid, just dang stupid and naive if I thought that my Hashimoto's didn't bother him. That would just be dumb. And I would be selfish if I expected him to just be happy and fine when its side effects were acting like a-holes and I'm laid out. So you need to make space. Mostly like us, our partners and our family, they just need to feel validated. If we don't provide that haven for that honesty, I assure you, you're providing a den for resentment.
I just want to jump in there because I know, and I'm not sure if you felt the same way, Brittany, but there was a long time where I never asked for help. I feel like that could be its own episode.
Yeah.
Um, you know, when you're first diagnosed in those first few years, you're dealing with like just a really hard like life season. You might be completely healthy, but you're just going like you're going through it right now, right? And it's like you said, it's a pride thing. It's letting our guard down. It's being vulnerable and being willing to ask people for help, but also knowing like what does a loving action look like for you? Like, because what a loving action looks like for me could be very different for Brittany.
Yeah.
And, you know, that we all obviously, I think most of us at this point in life, we've heard about like your love language and things like that. So for a very long time, I would just say, I'm fine, I don't need anything. But then I learned also through counseling, like there are ways that speak to me that open up that honest like communication. And it's not just like I always tell people, hey, if you need something, let me know. It's,
Yeah.
hey, I'm going to the store at 6 o'clock and I'm going to pick you up a few things. Send me a list, right? Like it's very intentional, it's very tangible. And you know what? It actually really helps me because I know like when I'm in a flare, I often can't get to the supermarket. Now I'm going back to like pre Instacart days. Thank God for Instacart. That's all I'm going to say. Um, so, but you know, those are like ways that were really helpful to me. Or like when I was really, really sick, like help me get to the doctors. Like that was huge, especially when I was in the wheelchair. I mean, I could like do nothing, right? And like to be very specific, but like that all requires communication. Like I can't expect the people in my life to magically know what I need and then be mad at them when I'm not getting it and treating them a certain kind of way. And now then they get upset with me and we're just all living in, like you said, this like house of resentment, which is horrendous for everybody involved, right? All comes down to communication. Now, we can communicate our needs, and this is like a perfect segue into something that I wanted to bring up that I mentioned earlier. And we can communicate our needs with all different people in our life. And it doesn't mean that necessarily they're going to get it or it's going to be a good conversation. Because sometimes, like, you're going to have people in your life, yes, you mentioned this, Brittany, that are drowning in their own disappointments of their own issues. You may have come across someone in your life that just seems like they have zero empathy or is just, and I hate like using all these little terms that you hear all over social media, but they're like, they seem like they're very narcissistic. I mean, those people do exist. Um, but we will come across unsafe people in our life, like for the rest of our life.
Yeah.
And we need to know how to navigate when we meet those type of people. Now, these are people who, for whatever reason, are simply just not a safe space when it comes to your emotions and your truth and opening up about your struggles. How do you know if it's like this person, right? Well, it's someone that will maybe roll their eyes when you start opening up or immediately minimize and dismiss you of whatever you're going through. Well, it's not really bad. I mean, look about people that have it really bad. Like, I don't need you to make a comparison right now. Like, I know that there's people better off than me and worse than me. I'm just talking about what I am going through in this moment, right? Or they immediately flip it with, well, I have problems too, or you don't even know, like, I had it so much worse. Well, I'm not in a competition with you either. And maybe you did have it worse. Like, but right now I'm experiencing this and it's really hard, right? So whether they change the subject or they act like you're inconveniencing them or they hit you with the classic, like, you're being so dramatic about this or whatever their reaction is actually not about you. Okay. Let's get that straight.
Yep.
It's about their own discomfort wherever their emotional maturity is at that point in life, or maybe they're just the inability to handle any depth. Maybe they were never required in their life to actually handle things with depth because maybe their parents already or always did it for them. Whatever their issue is. Some people just don't have the range, and that's their issue, not yours, right?
Yeah.
Goes back to this is a compatibility issue. This is not a personal failing. So, how do we deal with this? Well, my favorite thing in life, besides the word no, setting
Mhm.
up good boundaries. And if this person is a casual acquaintance, easy, right? Limit your emotional exposure. You don't need to pour your soul out into a bucket that has a hole in it. If they're family or a partner or spouse or just a longtime bestie, this is where it can get a little bit trickier. But you can still set up boundaries in those situations. And that might look like changing how you share things with them. You might want to start keeping it more surface level or when you share, right? So if you just got off the phone with your doctor and like your last batch of blood work is bad, or you're going to have to start a new medicine and you're in a really vulnerable moment, they're probably not the person to call.
Yeah.
And then you have to decide overall, like, am I sharing anything with this person? And here's the big one. If someone is constantly invalidating you, mocking you, dismissing you, you have the permission to distance yourself from that. It's not healthy. Like you are not required in life to keep an unhealthy relationship alive just because there's history between you two or there's blood or you just have guilt that's telling you so, right? We all deserve people in our life who see us and who hear us and who hold space for us and that are not people who make us question like whether we're even allowed to talk or take up any space at all or feel a certain way about something that's really hard that's going on in our life. And if boundaries are a tough issue for you, like even though we're going to talk about it in a future episode, Britt and I are big believers that counseling and therapy can help you draw those clear boundaries. And sometimes it's hard. I mean, removing someone fully from your life, especially if it's a family member or spouse or whatever it is, like that in itself is, and Britt, you talked about this in episode 1, that's a level 10 loss. Like it can bring up a lot of emotions. Um, but these things can be hard. And if it's toxic, you need to find a way to navigate all of it. So we don't have all the answers, obviously. And this is where I would say turn to a professional like counseling or therapist. But I want to share an amazing quote that I actually did see on Instagram the other day about boundaries. It's from Jaya John, and it said, "Your boundaries need not always be an electric, angry fence that shocks those who touch it, but it can be a consistent light around you that announces to people, I will be treated sacredly."
Mm, yes. Yes. Because I think when we hear the word boundaries, it seems so negative,
Mm,
like a bad thing that I have to draw up. But boundaries are actually a safety thing. It's an actual a kindness of
yeah.
telling somebody else, this is the way I want to be treated. This is the way I expect to be treated. What are your boundaries? Tell me what you want. Tell me the way you want to be treated. And we're going to draw a line because when they get crossed, that's when crap gets real. So that's beautiful. It's a
Yeah.
consistent line.
Think
Yeah.
about like an electric fence like that we have, like I used to have with my dog before he passed. Like, I love him. I don't want him running out in the street. Like, I want to keep him safe, but I also want to give him the freedom to roam around a little bit and like enjoy himself, right? Like I did that out of love, even though, I had to put like some type of boundary outside.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's not a bad thing, y'all. When you hear boundaries, I don't want your brain to cue bad, wrong.
Mm,
Boundaries are a really beautiful thing to have a place of sacredness in your relationship. So this is really good. And I know that a counselor or even a good book can help you figure out where you need to set yours if you're feeling like there's just some people in my life that I need to have a little more clarity with, a little more lines drawn. So I mean, all right. So how do we unsubscribe from this idea that we have to make ourselves smaller to be loved, right? Because that's what it's all coming down to. How do I get rid of this in my life that I don't need to be smaller to be loved? So step one, I'm going to give you some steps here because we like them, right? I like tangible things I can touch, I can do. You've got to give yourself the permission to be honest. There are people out there and you need to give yourself that permission. No, you don't have to launch into a TED Talk like Marissa is going to on April 23rd, folks. Woo, woo, woo. But no, it doesn't have to be a TED Talk, right? Every time someone asks you how you're feeling, it doesn't have to be like, you get my page out of my journal and go. But if you're having a rough day, say it, right? I'm tired, period, is a full sentence. And if your second language is sarcasm, like ours is often, my
Mhm.
body is being a little drama queen today, that also works, right? Throw in whatever flavor you need, whether you're being spicy or not that day, right? So, hey, tell people. You don't have to give them the whole story, but tell them some. Step 2, find your people. You have a tribe right here. You have 2 girls right here. We are your people. We get it, right? Find your people. Because not everyone will get this, as we've talked about, right? And that's fine. That's totally fine. That's a compatibility issue that Marissa was talking about. That's just them. That's not a you, right? Some people think gluten-free means a fun little diet, right? Just so exciting. We get to try some new food, right? Or that migraines are just bad headaches, right? We don't have time for those people, right? We don't. Nope. Bye. See you later. Find the ones that make space for you. All right. Step 3, tell people what you need and vice versa. Allow them to tell you what they need. Most folks aren't mind readers. I would like to get mad at my husband for not being a mind reader, but in fact, he's still not one, tragically. So sometimes we have to just completely spell it out. I don't need you to fix it. I just need you to listen. Practice that in a mirror, on the notes portion of your phone, right? I don't need you to fix me. I just need you to listen, and then allow them to do the same with you, right? All right, step 4, remind yourself daily, you are not broken. You are not too much. You are not a burden. You are carrying burdens. You are not a burden. Your body is just a little confused. And honestly, same, right? Dr. Nedra Glover Tawwab is a licensed therapist, and she puts it absolutely best. I love this. You are not too much. You're just asking the wrong people to handle you.
Yeah, that could be a good, that should be your next tattoo, Britt.
Ooh, yeah.
I mean,
That's your
really.
list. Got to.
Because that is like no truer statement, right?
Yeah.
So if you're out there and you're like nodding along, or maybe you're crying a little bit, or like aggressively sucking down your coffee in your car while you're driving, I just want to stop for a second, and I want you to know, like, you don't have to shrink yourself to be loved, and you don't have to earn your space in someone's life either. For the love of all things good, like, you do not have to try yoga unless you actually want to, and I do. I actually love yoga, and green juice. But before we leave, like, we want to add in a couple of tangible ways, like Britt was saying, that you can actually work on this area in your own time if you feel open to it. And there are 2 things that we thought about that we wanted to share with you to consider. So, for first thing, I just want you to stop for a minute, and I want you to consider evidence-based thinking. And what do I mean by that? When your brain tells you, I'm overwhelming, no one can handle me, I want you to stop and challenge it with, what actual proof do I have that I'm too much? Is it just anxious thoughts, or do I actually have like real evidence?
Yeah.
And have people in my life told me that I'm too much, or am I just assuming that they feel this way? Because again, we talked about this earlier. Our brain makes a lot of assumptions. They are not always based in truth. And then ask, like, have I been around the wrong people who make me feel this way rather than those who truly see me? Like, our friend group is very important in who we surround ourselves with.
Yeah.
Or another way is add in some healthy mantras, like, to your self-talk. If you ever sit down and actually really concentrate on the things that you say to yourself, because we have a million thoughts every day and they're not all great. We, talked about that in the last episode. Sit down somewhere quiet. For a minute, literally take 60 seconds for yourself. Close your eyes, not right now if you're driving, but when you have time, close your eyes and just say to yourself, I am not too much. I am full of life, and it's a beautiful thing. Or, I am not responsible for how other people perceive me. My depth is not a burden, it's actually a gift.
Mm, yeah.
And the people who truly love me love all of me. Or I do not have to fit into anyone else's version of what's acceptable. And I am here to be real, not to be perfect.
Ooh, that is an episode right there. I would like to unsubscribe from perfectionism. Oh,
Mm.
so tune in for that one because y'all, if this episode hits home, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Maybe it's a friend, maybe it's your spouse, a partner, or that one coworker who thinks they get it, but also asks you if you've tried positive thinking or tells you you need to pray harder. No, none to that. Nope, because we are henceforth unsubscribing from the guilt of too much. We are done with the self editing, the shrinking, and the emotional gymnastics required to not be a burden because you are a person, a fabulous, exhausted, sometimes glitchy, but amazing person. And you deserve to take up space.
Yes. And for anyone out there listening, if there's anything else you'd like to unsubscribe from, we are here for it. We want to hear about it. Send us your topic ideas, send us a message. Go and follow us on Instagram at I'd like to unsubscribe. Let's talk about it. And until next time, take care of yourself, take up space, be you. We love you, tribe.
Love you. Bye.